Badcast.
Our sheep podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 40k Badcast. I'm Dan Boyd. That's Campbell McLaughlin. We're bad at 40k. You can too. This is episode 4. Campbell, we made it 4 episodes in. We are podcast heroes.
The big 04.
You know it, buddy. This is a day that's going to go down in history as one of the most important days in podcasting and 40k in the world.
Oh, if not the very most.
It may be in the universe even.
Yeah, in the entire segmentum.
But not in the warp. Fuck those guys.
Fuck them.
Okay, let's get into it, man. I want to talk about some new models we saw here in the Auspex.
And these are some big ass new models.
Oh
too.
man, this is some big shit. First one. Let's go for the kill right off the bat. Fucking Rebute Gilliman, Robot Girly
G.
Man, Bobby G, fucking Robert Gilman, all the fucking names. He's here. We've seen his model. And the internet is like, okay.
All right, so like I've seen 3 camps. I've seen one camp saying like this guy's pretty fucking cool, and I'm pretty much in that camp. Then there's the one camp which is like he looks like a big Age of Sigmar model, which is, well, it's not totally wrong. It's all sort of the same design aesthetic at this point. And the third camp that says he looks like a StarCraft action figure with torches on his feet.
So the torches, oh my god, the torches. Everybody has something to say about the torches. Okay, real quick, listeners, they're not on his feet.
They're not.
They're behind him in the pictures. Games Workshop is famous for taking really bad pictures of their models. And really in like, not that the pictures or the colors or the composition are bad, it's just the angle of the model. The way they've turned the model to the camera. Always makes it look terrible.
Yeah, once you get the 360 views in the website, then you get a really good feel for what the model actually looks like. But choosing one specific angle for a 3-dimensional object shouldn't be that hard to do, but they seem to fuck it up pretty reliably.
Almost
and this is from a guy
every time.
who generally likes what they do.
Almost every time. They had Fate Weaver come in, and what a fantastic model. You look at the Duncan Rhodes painting video of the Lord of Change, which is, I think, the same base model for Fate Weaver.
Yeah.
It's an amazing model, and in the picture, it just looks like a fucking big blue blob.
Just a blob of gold. And
I know we're dealing with, like, 2D here, but still,
but
they
speaking
can
of
do so
big
much
blue gold, Robot Girly Man.
Okay, Robot Girly Man.
What do you think of the model?
I am tepid on the model.
Yeah,
I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's particularly inspired.
That's fair. I'm a big Ultramarines fanboy, and I even have the fucking t-shirt, and I don't care for the unhelmeted head. Someone said he looks like Glenn Close, and I don't disagree. But with the helmeted head,
Glenn
and if you
Close
shave
is
the
a
neck down a little bit,
fantastic
because he's kind of got some giraffe neck, I think he looks pretty cool.
I think I think the helmet head in and of itself looks really cool. I like the power fist design going on with his left hand.
Yeah, it's like one of Calgar's gauntlets, but bigger.
But he's just a little too, what's the word I'm looking for? A little too lanky.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like Marnius Calgar, which with the more recent Marnius Calgar model, I think is a great model because he looks like solid and unmovable. Like Lysander looks the same way.
Yeah, each of those models weigh like a pound too.
Very tough and strong, and maybe even in the Chaos side, Typhus looks that way. Yeah. He could be out there in a storm and not blow over. But Robert Girly Man looks just kind of lanky. Like his arms and legs are just a little too long and a little too thin.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
But the sculpting on the armor itself with all the crazy detail is unbelievable. I think the armor looks great.
The cool thing is that it's also Belisarius Call like handmade that armor over like 10,000 years, so it's got all this weird wacky detail and all these little hints at Mechanicus design cues. Like his ankles the same ones from the Cataphren robots, I think.
Ooh, cool.
And his backpack generator looks like AdMech stuff. So it's just this big life support system / suit of armor that's been made by one crazy dude over millennia. Man, so I think it fits that pretty well.
They really killed it with the Belisarius Call, not just the character design and the model design, but just everything about it.
Yeah, his fluff's cool too.
Okay, so we got 2 more models out of the triumvirate, the Imperial Triumvirate, the Space Marine Triumvirate, whatever the fuck. We've got a Grey Knight guy who I think is actually a very strong model, like a very good model for a Grey Knight champion or Grey Knight leader. He's not very dynamic or anything, but he has his pose is very I would maybe inspiring. If you look at it.
He's got that stoic, leaderly pose. He's the new Grandmaster. I don't remember his name, but I kind of appreciate how comparatively understated he is compared to a lot of character models. Like, he's just a big dude who does his job and doesn't need to be dancing around on a pillar of flame or swirly psychic magic jizz.
Ooh, psychic jizz.
Yeah, we're bringing it back.
It never went away. And then the third
it's awful
model,
sticky.
It's so sticky. The third, you can't get it out of anything. Like, if it gets on your clothes, they're done.
Yeah.
They're finished. No. They're covered with fucking Slaneshi demons the next morning. They just
got to banish those.
It's awful. All right, and the third model, the best model out of the three. I think we both can agree on that, right?
Yeah.
It's SciFi. SciFi is back, and this time he's working for the good guys.
Yeah. He's got a big-ass sword in his back. That's probably Lionel Johnson's, but they're not saying anything. But it's probably Lionel Johnson's. The sword's bigger than he is.
Yeah, right?
But that model's so fucking cool. He's got the old ancient pistols and
he's
sick
drawing
pose
it.
and
He's
tattered
like
cape.
Grabbing his pistol. He's about to draw it. He's got his cool cape. Though I did notice they took the skeleton off of his back.
My only complaint. That's my literal only complaint.
It's not. Oh, I love his armor design too.
Oh yeah, it's like knightly and
it looks
like leather straps and stuff
compared to like MK8 armor for regular or the current Marines.
Yeah,
really cool design. He's one of the only Dark Angels characters I've actually enjoyed.
Yeah, because he's not a typical Dark Angel.
Because Dark Angels suck. They're the second worst Legion or second worst chapter behind the Emperor's Children.
That's a race to the bottom right there.
It really is. Between Fulgrim and Lionel Johnson, I don't know which one is worse, but I do know that they're both pretty fucking terrible.
I mean, I've got a Dark Angels army. I don't use them all the time because I don't really care for them fluff-wise, but I like the look of them. They just have a lot of really shit units that I don't use. But
they got a lot of plasma guns. That's all I remember about Dark Angels.
A lot of plasma guns and a flying church.
Whatever, fuck those guys. So 3 new models coming at us, 3 Marine models. Now, both of us are Marine players. You have Ultramarines. I have Raven Guard. I don't really consider myself a Marine player first. And that being said, I am probably not going to buy these this triumvirate.
That's fair. I do consider myself a Marine player first. I mean, I've had 3 Ultramarines armies over the years, and I still have 2 of them, and I figure I can use Rowboat somewhere in there. And the Grey Knight guy, I'll find a use for him somewhere, maybe use him in Inquisitor Warband. SciFi, the coolest model there, I have Dark Angels. I mean, he'll go right with him. So.
And you might just it might just be cool to get that model 1 painted up.
Yeah, I think that's it too. I think just for the fun of painting it. Like, because I don't know if I'll ever actually use Rowboat, because my Ultramarines, like my 40k ones, are all retro style, and my other ones are Horus Heresy Ultramarines, and I already have the Heresy Rebuke Gilman, but I got to get the big Robbie G.
Right. I think but when you compare the Heresy and the 40k Reboot Gurlemans, I don't really know which one I like more. I think they're both. Well, the Reboot Gilliman from Heresy, I think he's one of the more middle of the road sculpts for the Primarchs. I like how he looks more like a leader and more of almost like a senator instead of like Angron, who's running around swinging axes everywhere.
Yeah, he's a statesman, not a warlord.
Right. Yeah, I like that about him. I'm not 100% sold on it though. He does. I don't like his little Gladius. I know that Gladius is supposed to be like, ooh, check out how fucking Roman he is, but I don't really like it. And then in this model, again, I spoke earlier about his gangliness.
Yeah.
So.
Which the 30k one doesn't have. I think the 40k one has it because he's kind of like, it's a life support system, so he might be a little bit dreadnoughty almost, like maybe he's got longer robot arms than his actual arms or whatever. But
right now, some more models came out either last week or this week, and for Blood Bowl, which is something that you don't play and that you might not give a shit about, but I play it and love it. However, Campbell, we had a conversation at the Philly APOG event about Blood Bowl and how much you would be interested in playing as dwarves. Well, guess what, buddy? The dwarf team just dropped. The dwarf giants are in, and they, I think, look really, really cool.
Yeah, I think there's some great sculpts. Like, the aesthetic for Blood Bowl, for this take on Blood Bowl, is a little different than the classic Warhammer take. Like, everything's a bit more angular, but I kind of dig it. The dwarves are really nice sculpts. I kind of like the guys flying in the air in their beards. I think those are silly.
The troll slayers.
Yeah,
they're beard surfing.
Also, these ones are the only ones with swappable heads so far, so you can actually make the team look a little more varied than the orc or human teams.
Yeah, I noticed that in the promotional photos that a lot of the same models had different heads, like the same bodies had different heads. Because I think they only do 6 different like body parts.
Yeah,
like they did with the human team and the orc team.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, I think they look fantastic.
No, they're pretty cool. Also, to celebrate this, Bugman's in at Warhammer World has a new beer coming out for Blood Bowl.
Delicious.
Yeah.
If I ever go to Nottingham, I'll make sure to drink it.
No, the beers there are actually pretty good. I smuggled a bunch back to the U.S. when I was there in April.
Are they warm? Do they do like not warm, but do they? Because like beer to me is supposed to be like cold.
They were all pretty chilled. Like they weren't too bad.
Maybe that's just me being ignorant of English customs. Anyways, also another new Blood Bowl model came out. Mighty Zug dropped for Forge World. I tried to buy it today, but I forgot my Forge World password, and they haven't sent me the code to reset my password yet. So I'll get around to buying that sometime soon.
I like that he's got a piece of bling with a big Z on it.
Yeah, every artwork he's blinged out.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that one. I'm definitely going to pick that up for my human team that I'm working on for Blood Bowl.
Nice.
So another thing got announced today, this week, that FHI and Rogue are working on a Necromunda computer game.
Which is my jam.
That is everybody's jam. Everybody loves Necromunda. And so this is the company that made the Mordheim video game. And listeners, I want to take you through something real quick. It's Thursday, February 9th. It's about 5:40, and I've been at work all day. But I finished my work, and before we started taping, I thought, you know what? I got time to do a Mordheim mission. This will be fun, because I've been having a lot of fun with it lately. I've been playing a lot of it. It's not exactly the same as playing Mordheim on the tabletop, but the aesthetic is there. It's fun. The atmosphere and the theme for it are really good. It's a pretty good game.
All right.
Until today. The game sucks, and I fucking hate it. So I got in there. All right. So the way it works is in the campaign system, is you pick a mission, and you launch the mission, and it'll tell you if it's like based on the warband rating, if it's going to be easy, hard, brutal, deadly, whatever. And generally you want to avoid the brutal and deadly ones because your dudes will get fucking murked. So this one's ranked hard, and I'm like, okay, this is fine. It's this mission where my guys get surprised searching some ruins. And the problem is, my guys are all spread out across the map with no synergy, no overlapping fields of fire, no nothing. While and this is the computer that kicked my ass, by the way, and the computer is not very smart, and it shouldn't really kick my ass but all my guys are all over the map. They're all surprised, so his guys all go first before any of mine, and they just pick them off one by one, and I can't do anything about it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm going to have so many fucking serious injuries to my warband that I've spent at this point like 20 hours working with. And I'm like, I'm going to have to fire a bunch of dudes. I'm going to have to rebuy a bunch of equipment. Like, this is fucking bullshit. So I finish the match, and I go to the screen where it's like, here's what happened at the end of the match. I got no gold, no weird stone, no rewards, because my dudes got fucking, from turn one, all got fucking ganked right at the beginning. And I was like, this game fucking sucks. So I'm worried. No, I'm worried because it's not that the game is too hard. It's just that I come into something where I have no control over. I don't have the first turn. All my guys are lagging behind. They're spread out all over the map. I can't do anything about it. So now I'm in this game where I just have to watch all of my dudes die.
Yeah, that's demoralizing.
And not only that, but like my best archer died.
Oh, they actually died. They weren't just injured. They died.
Like, you roll on the serious injury table at the end of the game. My best archer died. My wizard he did the multiple injury roll thing. So he had 3 injuries. My fucking gang leader lost his goddamn leg. Not gang leader, I guess warband leader. So this had happened a couple times where you go into one of these missions and you're spread out, but I was able to like regroup, whatever. But this time it was just everything was right on top of me. And I was really, really demoralized at the end of this game, and to the point where my opinion may have changed on whether or not I liked the game.
Wow, after 20-something hours, too.
Yeah, seriously. Because if that happens, if that happened with, like, if I was playing a tabletop game of Mordheim and the this scenario was like, have the other guy deploy your units, and then he gets to deploy right next to you, and he gets the first turn, and he's going to kill your guys on turn one. That's not fun.
So I've played Necromunda missions where that actually happens. Like, that is, like, ambush is one of the scenarios you can roll up.
Right, but ambush, if I remember correctly, there's only, like, what, D3 dudes from one of the gangs at the beginning? So they're only ganking 3 dudes.
Yeah.
And you can choose your shittiest dudes to put out there, and you get reinforcements coming in.
Yeah, but like when I played that mission, the guy I was playing with was the one getting ganked. So I started off by just teaming up and ganking whatever guys he had. And when his guys came on, they'd come on like 1 or 2 at a time. And I think even in the mission we had, there was like a wild animal in the backfield. So his guys came onto the field, then got mauled by a lion or something. So it was funny, but it wasn't exactly fun for him.
Well, I guess my complaint is that I had very little agency in this game. I had very little way to change my fortune, change the way it was going to go down, and I didn't enjoy that. And so what I'm worried about is that this Necromunda game might turn out to be just a reskinned version of Mordheim with like different weapon options, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But when you're like putting it in and you're like, yeah, I got this gang, this is a lot of fun, I'm having a great time, this is very personal, and then you get in there and everything just gets wrecked. It sucks, man. It sucks.
Yeah, that's when you just go over to your Steam list and go delete local content.
Right.
Hopefully they'll learn something from it. I mean, that's all you can really hope for, and maybe send them an angry email. Yeah,
and I haven't played on against anybody, real people in Mordheim yet, and I'm worried that might not be the most fun experience because so far on the computer you just sort of wait around during the other guy's turn.
Yeah,
and now it's not like I do all my guys, you do all your guys. It's based on initiative who gets to go, and sometimes, man, those turns take a while, and you're just sort of sitting there like. But then again, we play fucking 40k where the other guy's turn might take an hour. So maybe
once the guy starts moving his guard army, you can go make yourself a sandwich.
Yeah.
By the time you're back,
maybe
he might be halfway done.
Stop fucking complaining.
So, what have you been working on aside from bitching about this game?
Blood Bowl, man. I'm still knee deep in Blood Bowl. Got most of my orcs done. That's a lot of fun. Painting the orcs is a little bit more challenging than the stuff I've done before because it's a lot more colorful, a lot of green, a lot of yellow. Yellow is a pain in the ass.
Yes,
but I finished highlighting most of the yellow on my guys. They look really, really cool. I'm not going to bother posting pictures until they're done, but it's really good. I'm stripping my old human team too, with that wonderful simple green. Getting rid of the old paint job so I can start working on the new one. I think I'm going to go purple with that, purple and gray.
Neat.
So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also buying Mighty Zug because, might as well start collecting the star players when they come because you never know, especially the human ones and the orc ones since I have a human team and an orc team.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. And I've been thinking about how, we're going to Adepticon in March in about a month and a half here, and I'm thinking about maybe switching it up and playing Blood Bowl at Adepticon instead of the pre-organized 40k game that we both signed up for. I'm thinking about it. I haven't decided yet because I think there's a Saturday day-long tournament for Blood Bowl at Adepticon, and I'm kind of itching for some Blood Bowl action.
I mean, if you do want to do that, you just need to pack a dozen models into your case, which you can probably find the space for.
I definitely have the space for that. But we're gonna talk about Adepticon and traveling in our next segment. Though, is there anything you would like to add to the Auspex before we move on?
I've just been working on the same fucking Templars. Those guys take forever. You think white sucks to paint almost as much as yellow does?
Yeah.
And getting a smooth coat of that over black is a real pain.
Yeah.
But I've been working on a squad of 10 of those guys. I'm like almost done, and I started working on my 30k Gilman, and I put him together, and he's got that big scenic base, but it goes together, makes like a donut, and I thought you'd just be able to plop the base into it, but turns out you can't. You're supposed to, I think, leave the donut halves separate and slide them in. So I had to drill out the bottom of the little podium he stands on, put some big ass magnets in that. Then I got a 40 millimeter base and put some magnets under that, so I can just snap them on and snap them off. So yeah, I'm working on a reboot, working on some Templars, and once I got this Reboot Gilliman done and painted, I'll go buy the new Reboot Gilliman and paint him, and then I'm gonna make them kiss.
All right, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about what we hinted at talking about earlier: traveling and 40k. So this March, we're both going to Adepticon. I'm playing 40k. I think you're playing 30k, right?
I'm playing 40k and 30k.
Well, whoop-de-fucking-do.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't even put together my lists yet.
So I was having a panic attack because I thought I'd have to like rejigger my 30k list to fit into a 40k list. But turns out for the Gentleman's 40k event, which you and I are playing in, they accept 30k lists, so I don't have to do anything. I can just bring one list and play that one list and pretend I know how to play this game.
I wanted to talk to you about traveling in 40k because I have only traveled by car for 40k stuff before.
Which is a luxury.
Yeah, right. I've never flown with miniatures before. And I know you have.
Yeah. So when I went to the Philly event last month and when I went to Warhammer World back in April, both times I flew with a backpack full of models. Both those times I took the KR multi-case, I think it's the KR2 backpack that can hold 2 cases. Mm-hmm. And if you take that and if you just put the cases in and don't put any books or templates or accessories in, it'll fit in an overhead perfectly.
Ooh.
Even on the flight to England. And like, I'll admit, I was worried because it's, the first time I'm flying with, what represents untold hours and dollars and effort. But when I got to the UK, it was totally fine. Not a single model was broken. Everything was still on space. Everything was where it should be. I know some other folks who went and they actually they took their KR cases and they ran tape around them, like masking tape, just around to make sure everything stayed exactly where it was and wouldn't get jostled around too much.
That's really good because I have one of those KR backpacks.
It's a great backpack.
So, do you have any experience in checking bags when you travel? With miniatures in them, I should say, not like your bag of clothes or whatever the fuck.
I've never checked a bag with models in it because I do not trust the TSA type guys or whatever. I don't trust them to handle my models. But if you're very vocal about it and just be like, hey, these are fragile things, like I need to make sure these are okay, and you pack them real good, you should be all right.
What if it's like an Ace Ventura situation where he's just like, they're just kicking it around back there to some danceable music?
There's some real irate travel agents just working back there and kicking around. In that case, I hope it's insured.
Yeah.
But I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today who was talking about how basically my big problem is when I've flown with an army and all that stuff, I'll have the big backpack on with so many models in it, got my carry-on like man purse type thing with all my books, which gets real heavy when start getting the hardback books they have now.
Right.
And then I'm dragging the case behind me with all my clothes in it. But a friend of mine mentioned to me, mail your clothes to your hotel. So for Adepticon, he's mailing his clothes over there and just bringing nothing but models in all his cases.
Oh, wow.
I think he's a little more confident in how the airport workers will treat his baggage than I am, but that's what he's going for.
I was thinking I was probably just going to check my clothes, like bring a duffel bag with like some luggage locks and just check my clothes, and then carry on the KR2 and like another bag that has books and stuff in it.
Yeah, that's what I've done every time. I've been thinking about also getting like I think some companies have like skirmish bags or messenger bag type things to hold just say one case worth of stuff, and maybe even bring that as your carry on. Because that'll probably fit under a seat, but
right.
That's just my thought on that one.
Well, that's really helpful because I've actually been kind of anxious about that because I've never flown before with miniatures. So maybe it won't be too bad. The other thing, though, is I have to figure out what I'm going to put in my KR2.
That's the other thing. You have to be really careful what you're choosing to bring. So, for instance, with my 30K stuff, everything costs so many points that I can carry on 3,000 points of models, 4,000 points of models maybe, in one backpack, one KR backpack, no problem.
Pretty good, man. But
like when we went to Nova last year, I thought I was going to be flying, and that was one of the reasons I didn't bring my guard, because I have an infantry horde guard army. They're all metal, and I do not want to carry like 4 cases worth of shit and hope it all stays in one place. Fortunately, my friend Chris drove my stuff down there last year, and I'm hoping he'll do it again this year.
Yeah, that would be pretty good, especially this year
so
because we might have to bring a lot of points to Nova.
Oh yeah, because there's the Apocalypse event too.
Yeah, I'm worried about that because like I play guard and I'm gonna bring guard to Adepticon. Am I gonna have enough room? I hope so. I'm just gonna bring a lot of tanks. Fuck it.
Yeah, no, that's will fill your points up.
Lots of Lehman Russes.
Yeah, it also the other problem is getting something like a display board is kind of tough when you're flying. So I'm trying to look in to see if somebody out there makes like a folding, like basically like a folding table.
Ooh, that's a really good point. I was thinking about that too because I just have like a cork board that I put my dudes on when I'm at a tournament or an event or whatever. It helps me move around and is really, really useful. That might be honestly, that might be when we get to Chicago, we go to like a CVS and like buy one and then just don't bring it back.
All right. So one time, I was at a tournament in Maine, and my buddy and I brought my Valhalla Guard. We're all winter themed, and he picks me up from my house and he goes, "Where's your display board?" And I say, "I don't have one." He says, "All right." So we get to Maine, and so we get to hotel. We go to a Michael's, and I get a cork board, a bag of sand, some brown paint, some light brown paint, and like a bag of snowflock, and a buttload of PVA glue and some cheap ass brushes. And all right, we arrived the night before the tournament. So I put down the board, cover it in glue, cover it in sand, and like, all right, let's go out drinking. By the time it's done, by the time we're done, it'll be dry and I can paint it. So we get back and I start putting paint on it. It's not dry.
Oh no.
It's pulling up bits of sand every time I do a brushstroke. And I'm just going, fuck. I'm like, okay. In 2 hours, this paint will be dry. But it's like 11 p.m. now. So I set an alarm for 2 hours from then for when the paint will be dry. So 2 hours go by. I wake up. It's still not fucking dry. But I still have to hit it with a quote-unquote dry brush. I set an alarm 2 more hours after that for when I put the snowflock on.
Oh, no.
So at this point it's like 4:00 in the morning and I'm putting snowflock on. I'm just going fuck. It's still wet. So we get up at 7 a.m. because that's when we have to leave for the tournament. Both hungover. I put this like it's still kind of tacky, and we put it in the car. We drive over to the tournament, and I put my board down. I put my army on it, and they look fantastic. Like those are the best. Like they had a guy going around taking pictures with a nice camera, and those are still the best pictures of my models I think they've ever been taken.
Nice.
And I bring it over to my first game, and I introduce myself, and I start setting up my army. I take a Lehman Russ and just pull it off the base. It goes and pulls up these 2 track-shaped lines of goop because none of it has dried. And I'm just like, I'm using these tissues, like I'm like pulling tissues out of my pocket like I'm somebody's dad, wiping gunk off the bases of all my models because they're just covered in wet paint and sand and snow, and I'm trying not to get it on the boards or on anyone else's models. And at the end of the day, by the end of the day, the board actually is dry, but it's got all these naked patches and all these little rings where these like heavy metal models had put little divots into it. And yeah, that's my display board story.
Okay, so we're not going to do that.
No.
That's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
That is so fucking funny, dude.
Suck it up and get a shitty display board.
Yeah. Oh my god. That's too fucking funny. All right, so you've traveled a lot for 40K then, right?
Oh yeah. No, it's I stopped getting games as much around here just because the scene was dying down a little bit for a while. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm just gonna go everywhere to find games. So I've flown, I've gone on trains, I've gone on buses, I've walked obviously with KR backpacks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've had good luck. In general, I've had good luck. The biggest problem I've really had was with the KR backpack. It does stick out an awful lot.
Yeah.
So when I'm riding the subway around Boston, I'm kind of getting in the way of people and I feel like a jerk, but
riding the T.
Oh yeah.
So one thing that I would counsel for any newer 40K players that might be listening to the show is if you get a chance to go to a big 40K event, go ahead and do it. It's a great time. And the great thing about one of my favorite things about going to an event is that everybody who's there wants to be there. They've made up their armies. They've got everything together. They probably set goals before the event to finish by the event, so they could have that one tank or that one unit that new unit that they wanted to use. Unless you're Whiteout Mouse or Master Slowpoke from the Something Awful forums, and they just bring the stuff that they've been bringing for the last 5 years. But most people are there, and it's a special time, and they're happy to be there. They're excited to be there. You can go to a game store, and a lot of times people are just like trying to kill time on a Saturday afternoon or something, and maybe they're not like 100% into having fun,
Yeah.
But when you go to a event like a 40k event, everybody's there to have a good time and have fun.
Yeah, they might not all be there for the same exact reasons you are, but but everyone wants to be there. No one's wasting their time, and I think that's one more thing. Is like you really have to be very conscious of what you're bringing and what you're going to an event for. Like every event I've gone with the sole intent of just having fun, meeting some friends, and being casual and just drinking some beers and having a good time for 3 or 4 days. But there's other people who, will bring the kick-ass cutthroat tournament list.
Right. I've always felt that taking this hobby seriously is, taking the playing of this hobby seriously is for chumps. Taking the painting and modeling seriously is where the real fun is. If you're going to take something seriously, make your models look nice.
Yeah, the only winning move is to play badly.
Right, exactly. And that's why it's the Badcast. How much traveling would you say you do a year for 40K? Or gaming in general?
In the last year, in 2016, I really went ham. I pardon the expression,
Warham,
I went warham, if you will. Fucking crazy. But I went to England. I went to hang out with the independent characters and all the other dudes up there. I went to New York to hang out with Buffalo Chicken and the Chirurgian and all those guys from Something Awful. I went to Nova and it wasn't 2016 anymore, but I went to Philly. So I've traveled 4 times, like in some cases to the other end of the country, in some cases to all the way to Europe.
Across the ocean.
Traveling it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but the more you do it, the less you kind of worry about it. And I actually even met a bunch of other people in my travels. Like I sat down at the bar and I had a KR backpack, and I sat down next to a dude who has a big battle foam bag, and I was like, Nova? He's like, yeah, what you bringing?
Nice.
So, yeah, you can make friends that way.
That's really cool, man. I'm really excited for Adepticon.
Oh, me too.
We're gonna in the coming shows, we're gonna get a little more deep into our plans and stuff for that, and help me write a list. but I think it's gonna be a really good time. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm stoked. It's something I've been hearing about as long as I've been in the hobby, and I'm excited to finally pull the trigger on it.
The week before, I'm traveling too. I'm going to Austin for South by Southwest for work.
Oh.
So that 2-week period in March is going to relieve me of all of my money.
All your money and all your time. You're going to have a great one.
Oh, God. All right, so let's move on. We're going to talk about 40K Book Club now, which is our semi-regular segment that we do where we talk about a novel written by the Black Library authors. And this time, we read 15 hours. And by the way, this is the first time where we actually read the same book and pretended like we gave a shit about this podcast and prepared for it. So yeah. I'm excited about this segment because 15 hours is I think a really good book.
Yeah.
And if you pull it out of 40K and just have it as like a war novel, I think it holds up.
Yeah. So first of all, we're going to be spoiling the shit out of this book.
Oh yeah, if you haven't read it and you really want to read it, don't listen to this segment, but you should because the book spoils itself.
Yeah, it does. But we mentioned in the episode last week that we were reading this, and if you didn't pay attention and didn't read it, well, tough shit.
Yeah, because guess what, guys? The main character is dying in the first fucking paragraph.
It opens with a dude dying in a ditch.
Yeah.
And that sets the tone for the entire book.
So let's go through the plot real quick.
Let me start by reading the excellent cover quote.
Oh, please do.
Basic training, 4 months. Planetary transportation, 7 weeks. Life expectancy, 15 hours.
And that's the crux of the book, is that when you get to this battle zone that they're in, new soldiers have a 15-hour average lifespan, which I don't know about you, man, but that's one of the most grimdark things I've ever read coming out of Black Library.
And the fact that every chapter opens with the hour, it is just it's a ticking clock, the entire book.
Yeah, so this book is really cool for a number of reasons. It's very tight. It's only about 230 pages long, and the atmosphere and the theme are all very dark, all very gritty.
I'd say aggressively futile is really what it's like to be in this game, in this book.
Yeah, it plays with your expectations a little bit because it shows you a character dying in a ditch in the first chapter, the prologue or whatever, and then it takes you to his life, or I guess another character's life in his agri world, his beautiful, idyllic life, and then shit just goes real bad.
Yep. So it starts with this, or after the dude dies in a ditch, an unnamed dude dies in a ditch. It goes to the planet Journal. Jumail. Okay, the kerning is all weird, but
Okay,
and
blame it on the fucking kerning.
Always will.
Can't read.
But it follows this good old farm boy named Arvin Larn, who lives on
Larny.
Old Larny, or as he's later known, Newfish. As he is drafted into the ironically named Jumail 14th Volunteers, which is just like, that's a throwaway joke that's called the 14th Volunteers when it's strictly draftees.
Yeah, they were conscripted. They were
there's
not.
A lot,
they were voluntold.
Yeah, there's a lot of black humor in this book. So it starts with him getting drafted and saying goodbye to his parents and going off to join up with the Guard, and then you get the 4 months of basic training, which go by pretty quick, but he establishes some relationships with some other people from his planet, some other friends he had, the gritty, grouchy drill sergeant straight out of Full Metal Jacket, and then they go to a war zone, and they all fucking die over the course of like 2 pages.
Well, hold up, because something what I really like about this book happens, whereas they're in transit to some sort of jungle world where there's a PDF uprising, which is what they're looking for, and then it cuts away to some, I forget the name of the planet, but some different planet where a Munitorum, that's right. Munitorum scribe is just entering numbers that he hears into a cogitator. Mm-hmm. And he's lamenting about how horrible his life is, how all he does is sit at this cogitator and enter numbers in this bleak and horrible bureaucratic nightmare.
It's like George Jetson.
Well, it's more like George Orwell in the fact that it's like a dystopian future. And he, at the end of it, near the end of the chapter, or part of the chapter rather, he enters the wrong number. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh wait, was that a 1-2 or a 2-1? Who cares? It doesn't really matter anyways. I don't even think anybody's listening. So next thing you know, Arvin Larn's company, just his company, not his regiment, is getting mustered out of their transport, their mass conveyance. They're getting shoved in a lander, and they're getting dropped on this planet without any help. Just this one company.
And they're equipped for the jungle.
Right. Well, they get a rude awakening when they show up on this planet because it's the middle of a siege. The orcs are besieging the city called Brusharok.
Mm-hmm. Or Butcher's Rock in the local dialect.
And they land in the middle of no man's land. First thing that happens, their commanding officer breaks his neck in the landing. Mm-hmm. Second thing that happens, their sergeant, their XO, I guess, gets his face blown off by malfunctioning door hinges or door whatever.
The door bolts in the blast door.
Right, the blast door, and the door bolts blow his face off, and then he sort of like dies on the ramp and is all twitching and stuff, and all the soldiers are like, what do we do? And they do is they run outside and get murdered by orcs.
It sets up one of them as being like, oh, maybe this guy will be the new hero. This guy will be the new leader. He's like, all right, guys, we got to stick together. We got to make it to that trench line. And then he is promptly murdered.
Yeah, it's really brutal. And this is one of the things where I love, one of the takes on orcs that I love. Because the orcs are mean. The orcs are tough. The orcs aren't cracking jokes. They're this horrifying alien menace that just won't stop killing.
And they never give them a real face or a real character, so it kind of feels almost more like a force of nature than just an opposing army. Right.
So the main character, Arvin Larn, makes it to the trenches of the Imperial Guard, where he's met by some guardsmen of the Varden 902nd. Mm-hmm. And these guys are all decked out in this heavy gray camouflage with fur-lined hats and stuff because it's very cold on this planet. Now, I don't remember. Do they talk about what the planet's name is?
I couldn't find the name of the planet.
I don't think they do. I think it's just Brusharok, the city.
Yeah.
So he gets to Brusharok, and it's a nightmare. It's a siege that has been going on for 10 years. There's a Varden company holding this line, this part of the siege line that they ran into.
It's something like 240 guys holding this line. That's all they've got.
Right. In a very interesting part later in the book, they're talking about casualty figures with one of the general staff, and he's like casualties in sector 1-13, 247. And he's like, wait a second, there's only 244 guys there. How did they lose more than 100%? He's like, oh, the lander crashed. Of course.
Yep. That's actually one of my favorite things in the book is these little segues for like less than a chapter even, just going into some random other person in this theater of war's life. And my favorite part was I liked that guy, but I also liked the propaganda officer.
Yeah.
Who was just like, he's just like, how do I make this seem positive? How do I make this seem positive? And he says, victory for the 14th Jumio Volunteers.
Right. And
they saved the day.
He's worried about how the commissars are going to shoot him if he doesn't come up with something positive to talk about.
Yep. And he has to put out a propaganda thing twice a day, every day.
Guys, did we say this novel was bleak? Because it's really fucking bleak.
Yeah, it's basically it's the failings of bureaucracy in a 230-page novel.
Oh yeah, it's brutal, man. Because you get this really interesting shape of what's going on with this one character who keeps getting the shit end of the stick with having no influence on anything. Just random acts of bureaucratic nonsense sentence this guy and all of his friends to death.
I think another good point of that is it's not just bureaucratic nonsense that's killing them. It's other people thinking they're doing their jobs and fucking it up.
Oh, yeah.
There's this great scene where there's an artillery officer, and he's like this. The book has a lot of what it calls like backline heroes or something like that, where just the people who they're the great military commanders who have never actually seen combat. And there's this guy overseeing the artillery crews, and he's just like, they're working like a well-oiled machine. They're doing everything perfectly. I should put them in for a commendation. No, wait, then they'd think that just doing their job was enough to be commended. And then the next page, all the guys in the Varden rifles are getting shelled by their own guns.
Yeah, by that guy.
By that guy.
That guy's artillery regiment, yeah. Oh. So it picks up, Arvin Larn comes in. He meets his new squad mates, who are four of just your standard tropes in war books. You've got your smarmy, I'm sorry, not smarmy, but snarky little short guy who complains a lot and makes jokes at everybody. You've got the big dumb guy who's the heavy weapons specialist.
Always
you've got the one dude that hates the main character for no good reason, and then you've got the exposition machine, which in this one is his name is Scholar, which I
really
thought
on the nose.
Was pretty funny because he really only exists to explain all the things that are happening in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So he meets all these guys, and they go through a couple of raids with orcs. They go through getting shelled by their own guys. They go through meeting the rest of the company in the mess tent, meeting their sergeant, and a few more colorful characters. And due to the bureaucratic failings of the people above and around them, their sector comes under heavy orc assault.
Mm-hmm.
But before, oh my God, I almost forgot. The story of Arvin Larn's great-grandfather.
Yeah. So it starts with him hearing the story about how his grandpa, basically it's the story about how the emperor is real, how the emperor is great, and how his blessings shine everywhere. And it was a story about how Arvin Larn's grandpa was in the guard years and years and years ago. And every soldier and he was old, wounded, like barely able to fight anymore. And his regiment had a lottery. It was a lottery, right?
Yes.
Yeah, where whoever got the ticket would get to settle on this planet and wouldn't have to fight anymore.
And that was on Jumail, where Arvin Larn is from, yeah.
And a soldier with him was so kind because he saw this old, hardly able to fight man, and he gave him his ticket, and he left him.
Out of the goodness of his heart.
And where's the twist there, Dan? What happens when he shares the story with his new squad?
Arvin Larney gives, Newfish, as they call him, gives his heartfelt rendition of his father's story to him about his great-grandfather. And at the end of it, Devere, one of the Vardens in Arvin's new squad, is like, so your great-granddad killed a guy and stole his ticket. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it just kind of shatters his worldview because everyone's going, why would your great-grandpa not even remember the name of this man who saved his life?
Exactly. That was the thing. That was what hinged upon it, is he didn't remember the name.
Yeah, and how couldn't you?
I mean, that's one of those things, again, about this book where it sets the tone of complete futility and bleakness. It was really, really good at that. So the sector that they're in, Sector 1-13, comes under heavy, heavy orc assault to the point where everybody's gathering around in the mess tent before, basically like, yeah, we're going to die. And Arvin Lauren at this point sees the resolve and the strength of the guardsmen around him, where he thought that these guys were all cynical bastards. They're actually cynical. They're cynical bastards because of where they are, not who they are.
Yeah, they're still people like anybody else. And it's kind of oddly warm for like one chapter or so, or maybe a chapter and a half, where it's just people being people. And it grounds the book really well.
Right. So the orcs assault, and miraculously, they're driven back.
Mm-hmm.
The Vardens of Sector 1-13 push this enormous orc assault back. But as the saying goes, no good deed goes unpunished. Because after the victory at Sector 1-13, some jumped up lieutenant douchebag shows up from General HQ and says, all right, since you guys did such a great job, we got to go back out in the middle of the night and scout out these orc lines.
Yeah, they have to go back and make sure they've actually driven them back.
Which is seen by pretty much everybody as a suicide mission. Mm-hmm. And what lucky squad gets to go with this lieutenant?
Well, Larney's squad.
Larney's squad. So they gear up with their night gear and their grease paint and oil up their weapons so they're silent and dark, and they go out into no man's land to scout the orc lines. And there's a half a chapter or so of them creeping along quietly, looking out for roving bands of Gretchen as they scavenge through no man's land, or orcs that are not quite dead.
Yeah, because they have to remove the heads of the orcs that they find to make sure they stay dead. But the Gretchen, this is kind of one of the fun orky things in there that kind of also serves as some good body horror, is they're out there harvesting intact body parts of the orcs so the Mad Docs can stitch them back onto orcs who are missing limbs.
And a Mad Doc is precisely what we meet.
Ooh, yeah.
When Larn's squad mate Zebers, the guy who hates him for no reason, is killed quite disgustingly by a Mad Doc, where the Mad Doc's got his like rotating saw, his saw blade,
his
and
kill saw.
It just guts him right in front of Arvin Larn with his like guts and blood flying everywhere. And
his like intestines are like piling up on the ground. It's
right.
It's gross.
Zebras does in the end get it back by pulling a bunch of grenades and leaping upon the back of the orc Mad Dog, blowing themselves both to smithereens.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing that, Arvin Larn begins retreating towards the Imperial lines and gets shot in the back, in the bottom of the spine, and is paralyzed from the waist down.
And there he is, stuck in the ditch, and we're back at chapter 1.
We're back to the beginning with a man dying in the cold, cold ditch.
So the interesting thing, though, is he knows. He sees the sunrise, and he knows he's been here for more than 15 hours. And he feels like he beat the challenge, and he dies with more or less a smile on his face. Alone, cold, in a ditch, completely unremembered.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Imperium of Man. That is the Imperial Guard. That is the fate that awaits most guardsmen.
So I would say this, if I was trying to introduce someone to 40k, I think I'd give them this book, because there's nothing in it that you really need to know going into it. Like, you don't need to know how these guys are made. You don't need to know what their motives are. You just need to know they're part of a military in an oppressive fascist regime, essentially, fighting against something even more horrible. And it's a fairly human story. It is relatable, especially at the points where they get into the mess hall and the characters open up a little bit about who they are. And it's 230 pages you can get through real quick. And the structure of it will be familiar to anyone who's read military fiction or really even seen a big budget war movie.
And again, I think that if you take this book and you pull it out of 40k and you throw it into World War I or maybe even World War II on the easily on the Eastern Front of World War II, then you've got yourself a really good book without any orcs or intergalactic transport or warp or psychers or anything. It still holds up as a good book.
Yeah. Because it strips out a lot of the weird stuff from 40k while still living in the nightmare of bureaucracy that is the Imperium and the Munitorum. So you still get that taste of 40k without being, balls deep in it.
Which is actually, is some of my favorite stuff about 40k isn't the, Eldar heroes stopping time and fucking with Necrons and shit. Mm-hmm. It's stories like this where it's just pieces of life in the Imperium of Man.
Yeah, it's kind of mundane, but it's also just nightmarish enough to not feel like it feels here.
Okay, so out of 5, how many throbbing space vaginas do you give this book?
I'd give it 4 throbbing space vaginas, but the 4th one is eating a guy.
Perfect. I would go 4, 3.5, 4 also.
Yeah, because I feel like the squad is very stereotypical. Like, they are really typical.
Yeah.
They the sergeant might as well be named Brooklyn, it's that kind of shit.
Mitchell Scanlon didn't exactly get super creative with any part of this book, though I read in the back jacket that it was his first Black Library novel.
Well, especially early on, a lot of Black Library authors, their first book would be a guard book, and as a result, they tended to be kind of gritty and a little dirty. Like if you've ever read Acadian Blood by Aaron Dembski Bowden,
I've heard that's good, but I haven't read it yet.
That book's fucking great, and it's grimy and gross and dirty, and it's really well written. And after reading that book, I was like, all right, this is a guy to watch. Gaunt's Ghost, first and only. I think that was Dan Abnett's first book.
I love Gaunt's Ghost, man. I've read all those.
I've still only read the first one. I need to get to the rest.
Well, you'll probably never be finished because he's making real money writing movie scripts for Marvel. But
War Master's coming out in December.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. They posted it yesterday.
That's like a year.
Yeah, but hey, it's coming out.
Yeah, I'll probably forget about it, and then you're reminded 8 months down the road. Be like, holy shit, it comes out in 2 months? Oh, it's fucking awesome. Okay, so we're gonna finish up. That's 40k Book Club. Next time we'll try to do a book that we don't like, I guess, or a book that's funnier that we can be more funny about. But 15 Hours is a really good book, and yeah, we just spoiled it for you. But I would go if I hadn't read it before. If I were you, listener, I'd go out and buy it. It's worth it, and it's probably like $2 on Amazon.
It's in the first Imperial Guard omnibus, and you can get it used. There's used copies floating around for a couple bucks out there.
All right, so we're running out of time. We're gone a little long in this episode, I think, and we need to remind you guys something about the fan fiction challenge that we started last episode. This is write us a 1-page story about Biff Tundrish and how he gets biffed at some point during the show. And Campbell, how many submissions have we had so far?
Let me count them all right now. None. None of you fuckers have sent me anything. I want to read your terrible fan fiction.
Listeners, please, please, please give us something awful to read, because we want the horrible, dumb shit. We want anime. We don't want anime.
We want anime. We want to go hard in the anime.
He wants anime. I want throbbing space vaginas. We want all of it.
I want throbbing anime space vaginas. Put them all in there. I want to see Tundrish get biffed in the most creative way you can biff Tundrish.
I love it. Please do so, because if you don't give us any submissions, Campbell and I are going to write our own fan fictions and read them on the air.
And you don't want that.
No, you don't want that.
You don't want that.
We're good at talking. We're not good at writing. We're idiots.
Christ, no.
All right, remember, that's contact@40kbadcast.com. Contact@40kbadcast.com. Please give us your submissions. We'd love to read them.
So, speaking of fan fiction, it's time for my favorite segment, Fact or Fan Fiction.
Here we go.
Perhaps the strangest talisman, and one, or should one say many, which made those initiates feel themselves intimately part of the fists, was kept in a long crypt below the reclusium, reached by a drop shaft which would incinerate anyone who did not sport a black carapace beneath their skin. The adamantium floor down there was inscribed with a maze of tiny colored channels that bootstraps would never be able to wear away, in a pattern suggestive of a cosmic map. And along all of those channels were spaced little indentations the depth of a fist's thumbprint, each recess named with a rune. At one end of the seemingly arcane map or game board, an enormous plasma crystal bowl held thousands of what at first sight appeared to be bloodshot ochreous eyeballs. Each ball commemorated the initiation of a group of ex-cadets throughout the eons, each being a nugget of the liquid amber and blood drunk from Rogel Dorn's own chalice by the Recrusiarch of whichever epoch, and defecated by him subsequently in this shape. At the opposite end of the graven floor, a mighty second bowl held darker balls, composed no doubt of the bodily secretions of the third degree, likewise embalmed in amber. Oh, no. What sacred game was played out in this floor? What arcane divinations were performed here? What horoscopy or even psychic sorcery in extremis might be enacted in this crypt? The initiates already realized that here were secrets unutterable outside the confines of the reclusium, innermost secrets which they themselves might wish to never know. In the most organic, visceral way possible, they now felt bonded with utter intimacy to their chapter, digested by it.
Oh my god.
So now...
Imperial Fist poop magic.
So now, Dan needs to guess if this is fact, as in from an official Black Library source, or fan fiction, which there is tons of out there, and I've read way too much of now.
Oh my god. Dude, it's poop magic, right?
Yeah.
That's poop.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's a poop ritual,
All
really.
right. So my gut says that this is like some weird poop fetish fan fiction, but it was written kind of well. So I'm gonna go. That's actual Black Library production.
It is.
Yes.
That is an excerpt from everyone's favorite book, Space Marine by Ian Watson. An endless fucking trove of treasure. Of poop magic, sphincter doors, and titans giving the finger.
Oh my god. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, that's so horrible.
That's like not even a quarter of the way through the book.
Oh god, Imperial Fist poop magic. Mm-hmm. There you go. Well, that's it, folks. Right. That's it for us. All right, so before we actually get out of here, we are now available for download on Google Play, or at least some point today. I submitted it and they approved it, so you should no later than February 10th. You should be able to download us on Google Play.
Also, 40k Badcast.com is now a real website. You can go check it out. You can see the show notes there finally, and there's stupid pictures and bios and stuff like that I put like 15 minutes of work into, and you should enjoy all 15 of those minutes.
I'm really excited that this episode is getting released because it's going to bump fucking anime off the top of our goddamn website.
Searching for 40k anime on DeviantArt was a lot of fun, I gotta tell you.
God. All right,
it gets worse.
If you would, listener, please subscribe to us on iTunes or Google Play or whatever the fuck. And also, if you would, write a fucking review, please, you bunch of ingrates. Tell us how bad we are, or tell us how good we are. Just write a review.
I know you'll be lying if you tell us how good we are, but I want to hear it anyway. My ego needs stroking. So people can watch my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/camhammershow. It's a bit more serious than this, but I've got a new episode every other week. Dan, they can reach us at the Twitter that you haven't set up yet.
It doesn't exist.
And in the meantime, you can contact us at contact@40kbadcast.com for either any questions you may have or your submissions for the fanfiction challenge.
Last thing, Campbell, give us an inspirational quote.
A good soldier obeys without question. A good officer commands without doubt.
All right, that's it. We're out. We're done. We're finished. I'm Dan Boyd.
I am
Oh, who are you?
All right. I'm Campbell McGruff, the crime dog.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.